Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Well, of course, there are a lot of subtleties that you learn that are very difficult to put into words unless you stop and think about it. But a couple key things that I've learned that have been very significant for me is the difference between an AA type of unconditional love and the conditional love that you have in an obsessive man-woman relationship. And that the two are not the same. That lovers, at least in obsessive love, lovers are not friends. Lovers can become friends. The friendship develops only a long period of time. Because in a love relationship between man and a woman, each one wants something from the other, and the love is given because it's conditional. I love you because you're going to do this for me, or you will return that to me. In AA, it's unconditional because you don't want anything from the other person. That's why I can say, I love you here in an AA meeting, and I mean it, and I want nothing from you, and you can believe me. But man to woman, I love you, is a cheap sentiment. It does not carry friendship. That means when the love relationship is over with, the friendship that was never there to start with, and so you may never even speak again, and it's okay. I had to learn and understand that, to know why people that you're obsessed about and are very close to one day, you hardly even speak to when the love relationship is gone. And that took away a lot of hurt, and I realized that lovers are not friends. The other thing that I learned was that you have to let people have a right to their own destiny, and that they're going to do what they want to do, regardless of how you think they should live their life. You can either accept it or reject it. If you reject it, you don't have to be around them, but don't try to change them. And those two things, I think, help me more than anything else. Going to Al-Anon helped me on understanding what problems other people go through on relationships, because that's what the main topic of Al-Anon conversation is, about relationships. You go into an Al-Anon meeting, say, I'm having a problem with my relationship, and everybody says, oh my goodness, poor baby. You go in an AA meeting saying, I'm having a problem with my relationship, everybody says, hooray! Did I answer a little bit? Another question?
Well, with regard, my name is Vincent, I'm an alcoholic.
Nice.
With regard to slips, supposing you're in a situation that you know, kind of start to pick up a little momentum, you know, in the direction of the liquor store, and you're thinking it over, and the change is jingling in your pocket, you're thinking cigarettes or beer, cigarettes or beer, cigarettes or beer. Then you have to wait for the light, and you try and rope in that good stuff from Bayshore, Long Island. What's the secret? We asked a guy on his 21st birthday when he was looking to drink, right? 21 AA birthdays, and he was looking to drink. And he said that, and then he turned around and he said with a twinkle in his eye, don't drink. So I added shaving. But when you're headed for a slip, you're not shaving and you're not remembering the steps, what's something that I can stick in there like a skyhook, like a last-ditch mantra of some kind, a serenity prayer or what, you know?
Okay, what do you do as a last-ditch defense against that slip, right? Well, they say in the big book that sometimes the only defense that a person has against that first drink is his higher power. Well, I'm not suggesting that a prayer is going to stop you on the way to the liquor store, but if you've got change in your pocket and you're heading to the liquor store, go to the telephone. That's what will save your butt. Go to the telephone.
All right, thank you.
Are we staring each other down here?
Thank you, Dennis. My name is Bill. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Can you share anything that you might do in terms of an 11-step, like a morning concentrated effort? Anything that you practice to center your day?
Any suggestions I might have on the 11th step to center my day? Well, to me, the 11th step is something I don't use every day, but I use whenever I have problems pop up. It's sort of like a mini 4th step in a way, only I don't write all that stuff down. It's a combination of looking to my higher power for guidance and taking a personal inventory of my own problems. There have been some times in my life when I've gone through some periods of emotional stress, relationship problems or non-relationship problems or job problems. And I used every AA tool at my disposal, so I can't say that I have used any one step, but using the combination 10 and 11. To write about the problem so I can look at those serial thoughts in parallel, talking to people who've had like problems, a number of people, reading the book, ODing on meetings. I use every tool, and each tool seems to nick away at the problem a little bit. Now I ended up getting through it. Since I do go to so many meetings, I think about AA and not drinking almost constantly, many times throughout the day. And I don't consciously dwell on, I am now thinking about step 11. It's the combination. It's the whole attitude of the program. You don't drink. You have problems. You let go of the problems if you can't solve them today. Only worry about those things that you can do something about, and use people. Because it's God acting through people. That's the way the higher power works for me.
Charles.
Hi, Charles.
When you were new and you were slipping around at Thanksgiving, these people used to march you some money. But when I slipped in the past, my last one, I had to be at work using carrot syrup. I ate myself for about a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes it was like every hour or 2 hours, I'd have another shot of that stuff to keep my blood sugar, and it barely evened out. Is that something you've heard of for others as well?
Is the use of orange juice or sugar or Karo syrup something that's commonly used? Oh yes, it's been used for years. I don't eat candy bars. I put some piece of real super cheesecake in front of me and the whole damn thing will be gone. But I'm not going to monkey around with your usual little ordinary candy bar. But in the first 60, 90 days of coming sober, I carried a pocket full of damn candy bars. I'd shoplift the sons of bitches if I had to. I had candy bars. It seemed to be what I craved, and it seemed to be what I needed, and I don't worry about weight or calories or sugar or anything. Take what you need, and that seems to be a good guide. Well?
My name's Paul, alcoholic.
Hi,
Thanks, Vince, for sharing with us. I looked on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, and I handpicked my disease, the stuff that I'm left with after I became sober. They call it compulsion and obsession, the new disease. And I haven't read the article yet, but I find myself dealing with it daily, and it gets in my way all the time from being, a better person. And I just wondered if you had some comments about how through your years of sobriety you've dealt with compulsion and obsession after becoming sober.
How have I dealt with compulsion and obsession after sobriety? Well, very poorly, really. And I think it's because compulsions and obsessions are emotional reactions having to do with fear of not getting something or not fulfilling what you need or want. And all the logic in the world doesn't make emotional thoughts go away. But there are certain tools that you can use, and I think that's what I was really referring to when you were asking me about step 11 when I talked about using every AA tool at my disposal. I had an obsession at one time, a bunch of years ago, over a lady person. And it was not to be, okay? Because that person had great difficulty staying sober, was very flaky, and no way would have been this right for me, but I still had an obsession. And I went to Serenity Sam one noon, and to show you how AA people react. I didn't know him very well, but he was always at noon meetings I went to, and I went up to him and, "Oh, Sam, when you have a minute, I'd like to talk to you." And I don't know where his insight came from, but he immediately dropped his conversation and said, "Come on, let's go." Took me into another room to talk to me. And I laid my little problem out to him, and he answered me like, "What do I do about this obsession?" He just said, "Get another obsession." And really, he's right. If you have an obsession, no logic is going to make it go away. But get another thing to become obsessed or interested in. If you've got disappointments socially, don't sit home and moon about it. Get out there with somebody else, maybe not a relationship, but go out with somebody as a friend. Get busy, do something. Laugh a little bit. Find a little humor around, because that business of being depressed cannot coexist with laughter. And that's why you hear speakers at the podium take these horrendous stories, real tearjerkers, and the horrible things they've done. "And I beat my grandmother with a stick," and it goes on, and laugh about it. The only way we can live with the pain of our past is to make humor out of it. To some, it sounds like sick humor, but it makes it acceptable and livable. So if you've got a compulsion, it's the same sort of thing. Turn that energy to something else. If I'm at home and I find myself getting into compulsive, obsessive, or depressed feelings, I change my surroundings. Get out of the house where I ain't going to do nothing, no way. Go to an Alano club, go to a meeting, Al-Anon meeting, movie, someplace to get with people. Get away. And by changing my surroundings, I give myself a chance to change my head. John?
Hi, John.
Am I planning on getting another sponsor, and how am I planning on using them? Yes, I've thought about it. I should get a sponsor because it's the socially acceptable thing to do around AA. And that to me is a false motive. If I feel that I have enough problems in my life that are bothering me, and I want to get a sponsor for me, get away from that socially acceptable image, you're damn right I'll get a sponsor. You bet. And at this point, with my nearly 9 years, to me, whether the person has 15 years or 7 years doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference. If they have enough time that I know they're liable to be sober and be there next week, the amount of time they've been around in an AA program, I don't think is the right measuring stick. It's somebody who relates to me and my problems and can give me some understanding and perhaps a little insight, and that's really what I care about.
I'm Joan, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Joan.
You've mentioned in passing your higher power. Could you comment a little bit on how you found a higher power in sobriety and how it may have developed through 9 years?
Well, the higher power concept that I had as a child was a large father figure with his back turned. Because I prayed for some things, because of a broken family and all, and never felt that my prayers were answered, so the back was turned. And then I felt it was a punishing God, and that was an unacceptable image. And then I went to Catholic University, although not Catholic, and I found that they use an odd mixture of logic and faith. You bridge lack of knowledge with faith to take you from logical argument to logical argument to prove a pre-established point. And I couldn't accept that. Noses are red, roses are red, therefore noses are roses, you know. But when I hit AA, the thing that hit me was that little phrase I used when I spoke a moment ago. God working through people to help you do what you cannot do for yourself. That's higher power. And the importance of step 3 being let someone else, let your higher power help you. Now, if your higher power could help you only, then God would be acceptable as your sponsor, and you can get sober by yourself or by going to church. God will help me direct. God does not work that way. People are the requirement. If I'm drowning and I'm going to get saved, it requires a person, not prayer. But it is God acting through that person. Otherwise, that person would not be there. I have since seen enough coincidences occur, strange little things that can only be the action of some mysterious thing working in my life. I don't know what it is. Why not call it God? And I accept that. It's a God of love, and He's there, and it works for me. And if I pray, it takes the burden off of me and places the responsibility someplace else and makes my life more livable. I don't know whether I answered your question or not, but it does work. Good?
I'm working on steps 6 and 7 now, and I'm kind of stuck, and I'm wondering how you did with defining your character defects and whether any of them have been really removed and where you stand on that.
Well, working on 6 and 7 yet are concerned with defining character defects. That kind of goes with step 4, the definition of what are the character defects. And I guess you can discover character defects at any point going through the 12 steps. More will be revealed.
Yeah.
I used to think that I don't have character defects, I'm a defective character. And going through the inventory, I uncovered a lot of defects of character, and I prayed that they would be removed, but just the act of praying to have them removed doesn't make them removed. And I'm not conscious of them being removed. The best measure I have of having character defects being removed is by running into people I have not seen in a long time. I've seen them for a year or two, and then they meet me now in the events. You've changed. You're different in this way and that way. And I find out that there's been a gradual change. One that I'm aware of is anger. I used to be a wall thumper and a tire kicker, very quick to take offense, and I would flash into anger very rapidly. And I had a good case of freeway disease. And I don't do that anymore. It's because I'm able to ask myself the question, what does it matter? Will I remember this problem next week? And avoid getting into that flash of anger that gives me a rush of adrenaline, which makes things seem black or white, never gray. Anger and fear are the two big bugaboos. And for me, jealousy and guilt are the biggies. And so I'm not sure I've answered your question at all. You use all tools at the disposal. And if you find something significant that you do that you can control, it's a defect in action, not really a defect in character. And only God can remove these defects of character because they're part of your soul in a way, and they go away gradually as you develop as a person. Still got a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Larry, alcoholic.
Larry.
Vince, what's been your experience with forgiveness?
Well, being a selfish person, I feel like I'm more prone to forgive other people than they are to forgive me. I don't know. Well, forgiveness, for me, has to do with resentments. And I can't afford deep-seated resentments because they eat me up. So I really don't have any at the moment. I went through a process of inventory a long time ago where I got rid of resentments I'd had as a child. And although I may not have forgiven in quite those terms, I have viewed it with acceptance. It's a kind of a backwards forgiveness. The business of allowing another person to seek their own destiny, that's their lifestyle. If they want to live with having done this crap to me, okay, that's their lifestyle. It's of no importance now. And that is, I guess, is a form of forgiveness. Now, where other people should make amends to me, there are a few around, but they're not about to make amends. I can live with that too. There's somebody that is mad at me. There's people that are mad at me on the program. I don't quite know why, but it's their problem. There used to be one lady lady, person, that I would see at meetings every once in a while, and I'd always say, "Hi, how are you?" And she'd look at me and say, "Fuck you, Vince." And I thought that was neat. It was a predictable greeting. You know, it doesn't bother me. It's her problem, you know? I don't know what I did, and it's unimportant to me. My conscience is clear. So, she has a right to seek her own destiny. If she wants to live with that, it's a lesson for me. If I carry around anger like that for a person, the only person that's hurting is me, because they don't give a damn, you know? Don't fester over it. It isn't worth it. Put it in your God jar. See if you remember what the anger was about next week. Well, I guess it's about time, isn't it?
Yeah, we can call it.
Are there any secretary's announcements?
Did you give me a name again?
And that's to stand so you can view me. My name is Vince, and I'm a brown bag alcoholic. What a beautiful day it is today, and what a pleasure it is to come up here and see a room filled with old friends, new friends, and friends I have yet to meet. That's a far cry from the way it used to be for me, when I felt unloved, disliked, and devastatingly lonely. It's too nice a day, I think, to go into a lot of the old heavy desert about drunk-a-log and what it used to be like. So I think I'll just thumbnail it to say that I was just Mr. Average Guy in a kind of non-average home. We were not wealthy, but my parents were into prestige and the like. They were musicians. And I always felt inferior because they were gone, and they always associated with people that were so wonderful and so great and so accomplished. And that was constantly thrown up to me, that to be successful is just expected of you. To be honest and truthful is the right way to be. And when you do the right thing, it's just so expected and doesn't warrant any comment. At any rate, for whatever reason, whether it was the family around me or me myself, I grew up feeling unloved, inferior, less than, and I felt like there just was no hope. So it was perfectly natural that in my searching for something to fill those empty feelings, I found alcohol. And alcohol did work for me for a long time. And like many of us, I feel that alcohol was a blessing. It saved my life because it made me able to cope with life around me for a long time when I had no other weapons to cope or understand it. So, alcohol helped me save my life by filling the hole in me. And when I got bad enough on alcohol, I had no choice but to reach out and find out what it was that was messing up my life. And after I understood that, it was all very simple. Just give up alcohol. Well, I got married after I got out of school. And I got married for the wrong reasons. I got married to a lady because I felt like I needed a mother, I think. Really, it was a chance to fix my social problems and get a captive someone who would give me all the strokes that I felt I wanted and deserved and had never felt I had gotten before. And I turned my will and my life over to my higher power, my wife, and she took the pants off me, put them on herself, became the boss of the family. Now, it turned out in later years that she has some problems of her own. They're not alcohol problems, but she has some problems. But that's her story. It has nothing to do with me, because I'm quite sure now that I would have drunk regardless of what situation I'd been put in. So I cannot blame my drinking on my now ex-wife. At any rate, the drinking formed a heavy pattern in my life right after marriage, and it kind of crept up on me. I don't know exactly when it was that I crossed that invisible line. I probably tripped over it or kind of mushed through it. All I knew is that one day I woke up and I knew I had a problem. I think that day was marked by going into work, going out to lunch with the guys, and being unable to lift my coffee cup or beer or whatever that was because my hand shook too much. And that pattern was to stay with me for 10 years. And I was unable to go out for coffee or be in public with anybody where I had to lift a fork or glass or sign my name or do anything of that nature because my hand shook so damn bad that I felt like I would want to die. At any rate, after going through a whole bunch of years of that kind of pain, and started to have those delightful little 502s that we know something about, my wife did one thing for me which I will never ever forget. She had found out about a thing called A&A and thought they might turn my head around and fix me. So she found out where there was a meeting, and this was in Malibu where we lived at the time, and we went to it late, and she went in all stiff-legged and snarly to find out what that meeting was about. They promptly tossed her out, I guess. She came out and said, they won't let me stay, but they want you to come in. And so I walked in. I was neither drunk nor sober. I was maintaining well enough to know what was going on. I'm sure I was red-faced, kind of shaky and a mess, but I went in, not knowing what the hell it was all about. Was it Jesus Freaks, a revival meeting, or what? Or a real estate convention? I didn't know what it was. Anyway, I walked in, and it turned out to be the Malibu Women's Stag. Lee knows about that because she was there. And they let me stay. Now, there's 3 ladies that I see from time to time around the program that were at that meeting, ladies and gentlemen. They know what I was like. They know I was an alcoholic and I qualify for this program. But they gave me something at that meeting that I'll never ever forget, and that was acceptance. I told you that I had the shakes so bad that I could not lift a coffee cup in public with anybody for any reason, and I had that for 10 years. Yet I walked into that little meeting of total strangers, and they handed me a coffee cup purposely half full, and laughed when my hand shook, and it was okay. I did not feel put down. I did not feel scared. I was able to laugh at it myself. I felt acceptance and love. They had nothing to fear from me, and I had nothing to fear from them. And I think that's why AA works. Now, they gave me phone numbers of people who lived around me. They didn't stuff my pockets full of literature. They let me go. Nobody called me. Nobody chased me down. But I had the tools if I wanted to use them. They must be Al-Anons on the side because they knew exactly how to treat me. Because no way was I going to go back to any more AA meetings. No way. Not to please my wife. Hell no. I'm a controlling person. Nobody tells me what to do, least of all in the do-good department. But I didn't throw those phone numbers away. I crumpled it up, stuck it in my wallet so they get properly stained. And time went by. I don't know when that meeting was, June, July, I really don't know. The fall of the year came along, and with it Thanksgiving, and I reached my bottom. Now, I'm not going through my drunk-a-log of the despair that I went through, of the business of trying to stop drinking repeatedly and not being able to, the shakes, the agony, the morning drinks, going into work, eating peanuts at lunch to cover up the smell of vodka, all the crap that you do. We all know about that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But Thanksgiving, I reached an emotional and spiritual bottom where I wanted out, one way or the other. Suicide felt very attractive to me, and it would have been an okay out because I had nothing to live for anyway. But I decided to give that A&A thing one crack. I didn't think they could do anything for me. I felt I'd slid too far down the ladder. And I really didn't care about anything anymore. So call those numbers. Those people came over and got me. Harmons was their name. Came over and got me. Mike Devery took me over to their house on Thanksgiving and filled me full of orange juice, honey, black coffee. Gave me a big book, took me on walks. I think they alerted Dr. Little up in the Palisades that thought this dude was liable to have convulsions. Listened to me babble about all the nonsensical crap that newcomers talk about. Took me to a meeting that night. Made sure I had rides to a couple other meetings and watched me slip over Christmas, which I did. But I kept bouncing back because I had developed such a medical need for alcohol. It wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't an escape. It didn't give me that buzz that I wanted to fix things. It just put me back into a physically normal, more normal state that I could drive a car and function. If I didn't have that alcohol, I felt like my body was about to explode. So I'd go to an AA meeting, and I'd get out of the meeting, get in my car, reach under the seat of the car, and have a belt of vodka, and drive home, and feel like a 2-inch turd. I don't ever remember a period of my life of such agony. In a way, that part of my semi-recovery was worse than the tail end of my drinking. At least in the tail end of my drinking, I knew that I was being dishonest to myself. I knew I had worked the first 3 steps already, that my life was powerless over alcohol. The only thing that could help me was alcohol, and I had turned my will and my life over to alcohol. At least that was honest. But when I got on the program to go in a meeting and raise my hand as a newcomer, I am an alcoholic, and talk about all the crap in my life, and then go out and sit in the car and drink. That was the most degrading feeling I ever had, of being dishonest with people who were trying to be honest with me. God knows I tried. One thing that was against me is I lived in Malibu, and that meant that I could only go to the 3 meetings a week they had up there. It never occurred to me to start driving farther to go to meetings 7 days. Finally, after one of my little slippy poos, this was one that occurred on New Year's, not New Year's Eve, but New Year's Eve morning. I had some kind of fun and games with my wife, drove down in the parking lot at Paradise Cove and sat there and finished off the last inch of vodka I had in the leftover bottle, and drove all the way from Paradise Cove down to Venice, where I knew there was a liquor store that would open properly early. And I got a nice big jug. First thing I know, I was coming out of a blackout, back to jail one more time. At any rate, I made phone calls, and people advised me, Vince, when you decide you want to get sober, we will help you. Meantime, go on and enjoy your bottle. They also told me, you should go to meetings as often as you drank. Revelation. And I started that, because I did want to get sober. I was trying very hard, and it was tough. But I started listening for a change, and I started going to the meetings. Over in the San Fernando Valley, Venice, I did the great circle route from Malibu to the valley to Santa Monica, and back up the coast, round and around. 7 days a week I went to meetings. Sometimes I went to noontime meetings over at the Hole in the Sky. Sunday mornings down at Beyond the Road. I met Mary when she was like in her first 10 days or thereabouts, and I was bouncing off of walls, literally, not knowing what I was looking for. I wouldn't know it if I found it, or how to keep it if I got it. Totally confused. But things gradually got better, and I began to get sober longer and longer. I wish I could say that I had that flash of light, that instant awareness. Oh, that's my problem. This is how you do it. I will stay sober from now on. It didn't work that way. Sobriety crept up on me. My first voluntary AA meeting was like on Thanksgiving. My sobriety date is June 3rd, Memorial Day weekend. It said I had to go through the pleasure of getting a 30-day chip and losing it, and slipping just before my 90 days. But by God, I made it somehow. And I remember what my slips were about, and I remember how it felt when I finally regained the ground and got a 30-day time again, and 60 days and 90 days, and it stretched on to 6 months and 9 months. And I learned about getting commitments. I became secretary of a large meeting in my first year, not because I ran for office, but because I showed up, because I was there early and helped clean up the place after the meeting. And when the secretary happened to be absent from the meeting for some reason, he asked me to open up the next time. And it happened again and again. And then he moved away and got a divorce and vanished. And I stayed there doing that job. Finally had to go to the steering committee and say, hey, you guys, it's time you got somebody with a year or more of sobriety to be secretary of this meeting. And they said, you're it. And so I wound up secretary of the Malibu Saturday night meeting with about 3 months of sobriety. And it saved my life. Because I had so much at stake. I mean, what little spark of ego that I had was fanned by that commitment of going to meetings. I could not show up at that meeting drunk. I had to go, and I did. And I admit at the end of that 64-week year, I was about ready to take that AA sign and throw it down the hill, because I got uptight about seeing all these neat people going out for their coffee clutches and their little dates and all that crap, and I was still cleaning up the meeting afterwards. But that was what I had to do at the time. Now, today, I'm about 3 months shy of getting my 9th birthday. And I meant it when I came in here this morning and said I see lots of people that are old friends, because I do. People that I've known ever since my hand-waving days when I was a pre-newcomer, the people I may have met last week, people I will meet next week. I find that one of the benefits of going to AA are the people that you meet. And I think I'd like to share with you my pattern and what I found. And that is, if you have a home group where people get to know you, so you don't have to repeat your life story all the time. They can read your moods when you walk in and see when you're carrying that little black cloud over your head. When you're in a bummer, they can spot it and say, what's the matter? And you don't have to tell them all about yourself. You just share with them a little bit. And they're on your case, and they'll help you, and they'll understand. It's like an instant sponsor for that 5-minute period while you get fixed by their love and understanding. But then you go to other meetings, maybe strange meetings where you've never ever been before. Take a risk. About half the time you'll go to meetings you don't like. Hell, I did that once and wound up in an OA meeting. That's fine. It was a little strange. I couldn't find the donuts, but... What I did find at these strange meetings is nearly always someone that I recognized but I did not know. And they would recognize me, and we would get together and talk and become friends. Whereas back in the old home meeting, we'd pass each other by for a whole year and never speak because we hadn't been introduced. It's a funny thing. And I find now that I can go anywhere in town, practically any meeting anywhere, and nearly always I'll see one person that I know or can meet. And it's a great feeling. I go in the supermarket, I see people. Walk down the mall, anywhere. The only place where I feel totally alone and I never meet anybody is when I have a reason to go to a bar. I've never seen for a while. Because if I did see one, they'd hide and run. They wouldn't want to see me there. The program works. I'm not sure I'm a totally well person today. Let's face it, if I were totally well, I never would have come here in the first place. But I'm a damn sight better than I used to be, because I have a new lease on life. I'm quite sure that if I had kept on with my drinking the way I was going, I would be dead. I know that 5 years before I was struck sober, I sat in Burton Chase Park with a bottle on the table and a gun in my hand, trying to get the courage up to pull that trigger. And I did not do it. And I searched, and I looked, and I talked to people, and I could not find anything to help me. I didn't know about alcoholism. I didn't know anything about it. I'm not even sure that if it had been offered to me at that time, that I was ready to take it. If I try to look back and kick myself about not doing things sooner, what if and if only, all I do is drive myself insane. It's much better to say, thank God I was able to make it when I did, than I'm able to pick up now, halfway through puberty, rather than kick myself over not having done it sooner. It's a wonderful program. It has saved my life. Today I go to just about as many meetings as I did when I was new. I live down in Venice. I'm single. If I don't have a date or something to do, I'll go to a meeting. So you might see me at meetings 7 nights a week. Or I might drop at the morning meeting just for half a meeting before I go to work, have a cup of coffee and steal a jelly donut. It keeps me centered. It keeps me sober. Almost all my friends are in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've spent several years going to Al-Anon meetings. I haven't been now in a couple of months. But I went to Al-Anon because all my friends were alcoholics. Anybody I might date is most likely an alcoholic. So definitely my life is filled with alcoholics. And somehow I found they had a little different slant that helped me in the relationship area. I have to remember, I was in a 20-odd year marriage, and my world through alcohol had shrunk down to that little floor tile that I stood on at the moment. It had shrunk down so small. No friends, no nothing, just the endless cycle of work, the bottle, and sleep. Work, the bottle, and sleep. And when I got out of that marriage, I had to go out into the wild blue yonder and figure out these are men and these are women, and you can tell which are which by the sign on the door that they go through. And dating was practically out of the question. No one would be interested in a crazy dude like me coming out of a horrible marriage, bouncing off the wall, a newcomer at that. So it was a long time before I got centered enough to learn how to attract people, and to be a friend to people, and give them a chance to be friends in return. Quit being a shirt-sleeve tugger, and accept people on their own terms. Don't argue with people. Give people their right to search for their own destiny, and either be friends with them or leave them alone, but don't try to change them. I believe in sponsorship. I don't have a sponsor now, but when I came into the program, I did get a sponsor, and that sponsor saved my life on many occasions. I did my inventory, and the inventory properly accepted and commented on. No big flash of light, but it did remove from me the guilt of a lot of things that I'd hidden away, those secrets that tormented me. That sponsorship kind of faded away. I never fired the guy. I like him fine, but his method of sponsorship was not one of being a friend. If you wanted him, you call him. He would not call you. There was no such thing as him calling up and saying, let's go out to lunch or let's go have a cup of coffee. It didn't become a friendship, and so I let it fade away through disuse. That isn't to say that I'm my own sponsor or my higher power is my sponsor, not at all. Today, if I have problems that bother me, I will seek out some man or woman on the program, and we will get together and talk about it, and go out for breakfast or dinner or something, and I'll lay it out, and I will do inventory about my problem until I find a solution. My life is not always even today. I have just as many ups and downs as anybody else. In fact, it's been truly said that when you're drinking, you have less problems in a way. You have problems caused by alcohol that get to be horrendous. But once you sober up, you're able to see the full scope of life's problems. Life is filled with ups and downs. You see, we used alcohol as a mood leveler. That's what we tried to do with it. And without the alcohol, we get the good times, the successes and the failures, and we're able to enjoy them to the fullest. In fact, we're able to take on bigger and better problems that we couldn't dream of taking on when we were new. And the relationships, I'm sorry to say I'm no expert in them. I have only been around the program 9 years, so I only have about 9 years of living where relationships were any kind of a possibility. I've had all levels of friendship, everything from semi-intimate non-relationships to intimate non-relationships and whatever. But I have lots of friends around the program, and I value that, I think, more than anything else. The chance to be among people, have people like me, give me a chance to like them and accept each other. If I got through it all, I managed to stay sober. I think it's 11:15. I guess that's when I'm scheduled to stop. And I guess right now we will observe the 7th tradition as we are self-supporting.
My name is Dave, alcoholic.
Hi, Dave.
I have tape lists up here. The shorter ones are from people that have done this workshop over the last 3 years. Help yourself to these. And the longer ones are from my personal tape library. These are spiritual tapes, AA, and others. My phone number's on both of them, and you can call me if you want to talk about any tapes. If you want a copy of today's talk, they're $3.20, and you sign this little pad up here that says Vincent on it. Put the money right here in the yellow basket, and I'll have it for you next week. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.